Hello survivors and welcome to another video. In today's video we are going to be doing a tier list. We spoke about it on the YouTube community tab. You all voted that we should do one now and maybe add the characters that are further added into the game a little bit later. So this is actually my second tier list. We did do one previously. I'll link it down in the description and we're going to just head on there. So let me just get started here. I've got an S tier, an S/A tier, A tier, B, C, D. I mean, I don't even think we need a D tier, to be honest. I don't think I'm going to put anyone in the C or D. But first off, we actually got the Arcane Weaver. I am putting Arcane Weaver into the A tier. The reason for this is it's a very strong ascension. The character themselves is very strong, but they do lack that hard pushing, or, you know, they only get the multicast from their ascension. Very strong skills, but again, we're not going to be adding skills into this. Anyone can have any skill in the game, so we're only going to be going over what the character has for themselves. And the Arcane Weaver is a little bit of movement speed with the ascension and multicast mastery. So very fun character to play, but in terms of strength of the character and the actual mastery, it's an A tier. Next we have the Assassin. Now this is why we have the S/A tier. Assassin is going to be in there. It's in between the S and the A, and the reason for that is it's a very strong ascension, very strong character. If we never had Overlord as a thing, then the Assassin would be S tier on their own, but because Overlord is a thing and the bounty target lands up getting all of those bonuses that the bosses and normal enemies get, and because it can become very, very tanky itself, and relying on your ascension to deal most of your damage and the backstabbing, that's going to put the Assassin down to the S/A. So just so you understand that. Next, we've got the Barbarian. That's a definite S tier. The reason I say that, I mean, sure, everyone knows getting into those high overlords, very strong ascension, first character to unlock, and you could go all the way to Overlord like 6 without even any skill tree or skills themselves. Just, it speaks for itself. Barbarian, definite S tier over there. Alright, next we have the Beastmaster. Now this will be our first B class. The ascension for the Beastmaster is getting reworked. You're going to notice a trend as we go forward. A lot of the reworked classes or rework in progress classes are going to be A or B. It's just how they are. Beastmaster, very strong character. The skills, again, going back to skills, would make it higher, but we're not taking skills into consideration. Having an ascension that just bloats your passive pool with bleed, if you're not playing a bleed build, does make it really bad for character building. And then also with regards to it just being 3 dinosaurs that run around hitting enemies, it feels very lackluster compared to some of the other classes, therefore in B tier. Chaos Walker, again, a B tier over there. The only thing I think his ascension's good for is the Chaotic Blessing, which can sometimes give you multicast chance, movement speed, damage, cast frequency, all that good stuff. But it's just a random buff at random times. It gives you movement speed as well. And then you also get the Chaotic Firewall, Chaotic, there's a bunch of other skills that you get along with it. So you don't always get Chaotic Blessing. It's a very chaotic ascension. It fits the character, but in terms of, you know, how good does that make the character, it doesn't really make him any better. And although the towers or the chaotic towers that you need to hand your souls into have had their collision reduced, so you don't run into them as often now, they are still a thing that you can run into, and therefore it does make it a bit dangerous, therefore B tier. Next we have our Death Knight. Death Knight's going to be A tier. The only reason he isn't S tier is the same reason as like your Beastmaster, where our ascensions, although they are very good, it's extra damage, it's extra poison, doom, or slow. The reason is if you do use your ascension, those Ebon Knights are going to give you more slow, poison and doom stacking passives inside of your skill tree. So again, bloating your skill tree. That's a double-edged sword, but unfortunately the one side that hurts the passive skill, the passive bloat, we'll say, is bigger than the actual, I can get poison without using poison skill. So it saves your ruin slot. You don't need to use Death's Touch, but at the same time you're also going to get doom and the slow. So for that reason, he is in A tier. And also not having a dodge compared to other characters. Although for me personally, the dodge thing, I know that's a big thing for people. That's not such a big thing for myself. Now this one's a bit of a controversial one. Our Elementalist over here, I am going to stick him in S and A. I would put him in S. I know a lot of people don't like him, so that's why I'm reducing it slightly to the S/A. Very, very strong character. Elementalist is meant to have like the power of all elements, which his Ascension does provide them with, which is going to be, you know, you can get your Dazed, you can get your Purity, you get your Fire, Slow, Doom, Poison, whatever it is. I've got a whole list of everything that each orb does for them, including Colossal from the Earth Orb, which was added in the Monkey King update as well. So, you know, it's a very strong Ascension as well. The Toxic Spheres do a lot of damage, and it's very, very fun to play and see just the chaos that ensues on the map. So in terms of that, I'll put it in the SA slot. All right, next we got the Hound Master. I am going to be putting him in S tier, and the reason for that is on his first weapon, the way it works is each dog of the Hound Masters, depending on the weapon, does different things. So one of them will be like distracted, it could be dazed, it could be... There is a list again, don't know it off the top of my head. I didn't really script this, so I don't know any of it off the top of my head, but what I do know is that the first dog with his bleed weapon causes wound. What wounded is that if your target is wounded, there's a 50% chance that a dot stack would be doubled. So instead of applying 1 stack of slow or bleed, it would then be every hit would be double the amount. So if you were slow stacking, let's say you had 100 stacks and you hit the enemy with a normal attack and you did 100 stacks per hit, if you wounded the target, it would then be doubled, which would be 200 stacks. So if you're doing dot damage, very, very strong character. And also the Hound Master is one of those characters where his Ascension can just use only buffs and go from there. With that in mind, we're going to do the next 2 characters. I'll put them in S tier because of this. Actually, the one will be a S tier and the other one will be S tier. Their Ascension is completely broken. So we'll start with the one that's going to be the Monkey King, which is over here. He's going to be in the SA tier, and that's going to make it very, very strong. Again, one of those characters that you can buff. So your Ascension, which is up every minute because you need 6 of the either dark or light sigils or whatever you want to call them. The one you get them every 10 seconds, so it's 60 seconds to get his Ascension up. You can buff his Ascension without killing anyone, you can get it without killing anyone, and therefore you can use only his Ascension to complete maps. Not as strong as some of the other characters that we're going to mention going forward, sorry. They are a lot stronger. Let's get to that character. I mean, that's why he is in the SA tier. So the next character is the Pyromancer. Since the change to her Ascension, making it a whole lot stronger, they are an S class character now. The Pyromancer's Ascension, you've seen me do 2 videos on it. Completely breaking the game. We went all the way to Overlord 9 using Focused Mind and having 3 buffs on the character. So absolutely no skills are necessary. You can go from, 0 to Overlord 9 in 20 odd minutes using only her Ascension. And that's going to put you at a really, really good spot. So that's why they are S tier now. Next, we have the Legionaire. Legionaire is probably an A tier. This is only for your normal game mode, not Unholy Cathedral. If we're talking Unholy Cathedral, we got to look at a completely different tier list. Unholy Cathedral, definitely S tier. But in terms of standard game mode, if you're going from cycle to cycle, you're not getting your catapults to stay with you. If they did, that would make you an S tier. But until then, we're going to go with A tier. That's still very strong. It does a decent amount of damage, but I believe it is getting reworked. So it's a bit stronger than your Beast Master and your Chaos Master. So he goes into the A tier over there. Next, we have the Necromancer. Also a it's a half decent character, let's say that, with an Ascension. It is only 1 typing poison, so a very strong dot. It doesn't really matter what you're playing. If you add poison to it, it's just going to accumulate and deal damage to everything because it never expires. It kind of just bounces between targets as long as you keep doing the poison damage. Also, I'm not 100% certain on this, I can't remember, but the Abominations, no, they don't taunt either. Well, they're not supposed to, but they... See, that's the part I don't remember. I don't remember if they do taunt or not. If they do taunt, then it's okay for survivability, but it's also like a double-edged sword again. They can make you take longer in runs because they are taunting enemies when you don't really want them to taunt them. So good for survivability, bad for time-wise and for speed running. And that's why we go for A little bit better, much stronger than Beastmasters, and Poison is just a better damage over time effect than Bleed, so it gets to the A. Then we've got Paladin. Paladin along with Barbarian, also one of the all-time favorites, definitely an S tier over here. Very, very strong, getting that damage increase, the block or armor increase as well, and you also get other stats with it. It's just massive. I think, if I can remember correctly, I think it's like 75 to 90% multiplicative damage on top of your runes, on top of whatever you've got as your additive damage increases and things like that. It's just massive. Some people won't enjoy it. Actually, we can move it to the S/A. It's just, I'm trying to say, like, okay, a lot of people don't like running into the circles and getting that. If you do land up getting used to it and you play it a lot and put a little bit of passives or, you know, levels into the ascension skills or passives, then it feels a lot better and it works a lot better. So with a little bit of investment, it's an S class, but out of the box it's an A class. Therefore we're putting it into the S/A tier over here. So that's why we moved it down one little. Sentinel, because they did change it now so that you can actually see where the cat is, the panther is, I'm going S class, S tier. I believe I had her in S tier or A tier previously, so you know that does remain the same. Very, very strong ascension. It gives you a lot of multicast, cast frequency, movement speed, as well as a knack of a dash, so some survivability in there as well. And just the class themselves, very fun to play with that panther. No matter what skills you're using, it's always fun to see you riding on a wild animal. So very, very fun class to play. Definitely S tier with what it brings to the table. Now, we did have Spellblade before in S tier. I'm actually going to move him down to B tier now with the way that the game is. Do you know what? Yes, it does. It does go into B tier for me now. A long time ago, his ascension was swapped. The 75% and 80% charge on the ascension, those two got, you know, changed to kind of nerf it. So you always need to have 100% of your ascension charged before you land up activating it. Also getting the activation landing up on top of you at the most inappropriate times when you're trying to dodge and things like that. You kind of activate it without wanting to a lot of the time. And I'm finding that very, very horrible for him. Used to be a very, very fun character for me to play. We did a no movement challenge on them and things like that. Was very, very strong. Still is very strong, but just if we're comparing it to some of the other ascensions and things like that, in terms of their ascension, it does feel kind of weak. So I would make another tier, an A, B tier, and put them there. But just because I don't have it and I'm not making one right now, I'm going to put them in B. I feel like they could be a lot stronger than they are right now. Now, second last, we got Engineer. Engineer's going into SA tier. Their ascension is pretty decent stat-wise, but it doesn't actually do a lot for us besides for give us stats. I know it does give us damage, which, I mean, it does deal damage, which like the Paladins or the Barbarians don't do. So it is very strong. The character themselves is quite fun to play, and you know, it's a new character. They are going to be overpowered, so it is an S to A tier. And then last but not least, we've got the Myrmidon. The Myrmidon is going to be S tier. Their ascension is so strong, their kit is really strong, just everything about the character is really, really strong. The first character ever for me to go from Overlord Cycle 0 all the way to 14 in 20 minutes and under. A very, very strong character. And it was very, very fun playing with them. And also visually, the way that they did the character going from, you know, not having your ascension to it starting to rain with your ascension, dealing quite a decent amount of damage as well to enemies as you charge it up, was very, very fun. So that's my tier list. Let me know what you think about it down in the comment section. Would you change anything yourselves, or do you kind of agree with it? Let me know your opinion. Again, Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe to my videos. And always remember, keep safe, survivors. Until next time, cheers.